Hello everyone, my name is Sophie and welcome to my new video. I'm back. Woo! I hope. Maybe. Listen, in case you didn't know, I was writing exams in the month of January and I just didn't read. But now I'm back. First of all, I know I've worn this shirt like last videos. Fits the vibe of today's book, okay? That's why I'm wearing it again. Woo! Also, it's nice and sparkly. I never wear it out, so. It was my birthday and my mom gave me this mug. The lover is debatable. Should be hater. No, that's okay. It's alright. I got my nails done. I treated myself. Can you tell? I really treated myself after the exams. And other than that, today we're talking about Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have this version. I know there's a lot of different cover versions with different versions of the snake. And my book looks really fucked. It's like peeling. I don't know if you can see that. Because I was just taking it with me everywhere because I was forcing myself to read it. I'm wearing a little snake ring. I don't know how well you can see that because I can't see the screen. But it's a little snake ring. And I always wear this anyway. And now it's fitting with the thematics. Anyway, I hope you missed me. I miss you. I really missed ranting. But I have, like, bad news. I was sitting here yesterday because I finished it yesterday. I wasn't even sitting here. Anyway, I was sitting yesterday and finishing the book. And I was like, okay, what the fuck am I gonna rate this? I gave it 3 stars. The reason for that is that I don't know. I don't know the reason. I saw someone comment, 3 stars from you is a lot. And you're right. If you're watching this, you're right. It's a lot for me. I think it's more of a 2.5, if I'm being honest. If I just think about all of the books I have rated 2 stars, putting this book on that same level just didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Because I've read so many really, really bad books that I felt bad and I did give it 2 stars because I felt bad. And this book was just better than them. And we'll get to it why, okay? But I gave it 3 stars. So I don't know how this video is gonna turn out, okay? I have like made a rant in a month and then I also rated it 3 stars. This is like new for me. New year, new me. Before I start, a disclaimer. First of all, this is meant for entertainment purposes only. It's not supposed to be hate on the author or the readers who love the book. This is just my opinion and I'm here to entertain. Second disclaimer, there are a lot of trigger warnings for this book, okay? I don't know how aware people are of this book. The second one just released, which is Hellbent, which, oh, by the way, I promised I was gonna read Babel. I don't know how many people like were aware of this and were like, wait, didn't she say she was gonna read Babel? I started it, I got 50 pages in and I've stopped. I just couldn't focus on it. I was writing exams and I was reading one book on the side, and since everyone was talking about Hellbent, I was like, okay, like I'm more excited to read Ninth House now because I got this book in August of 2001 and it's been out since 2001, bitch. I was a baby. I got this in August of 2021 and it's been out since 2019, and so the sequel just released this past week or whatever, or 2 weeks ago. And so I put down Babel and I don't know if I'm gonna read it next. I'm kind of debating whether I'm gonna put... Sorry, why is this intro so long, bitch? Get to the point. I'm kind of debating if I should read Hellbent next because I do want to read it. I do want to read the second book and I will get into why further down the line. But the trigger warnings. If you're someone that gets triggered by any of these things, I'm going to put a list up on screen. Then I would advise you to not read this book and probably not read this review. Read? Watch, bitch. Chill. I'm going to talk about the events that happen in this book, but I'm not going to go into graphic detail because... okay, we're gonna get to it, but Leigh Bardugo, I'm gonna say her full legal name, she for some reason thought that she had to make this book like super dark, and dark for her means just super gory and just putting a lot of like unnecessary vile scenes in it. And so all the scenes that happen that are with the trigger warnings, they're like really dark, okay? So you shouldn't read the book if you just... I'm not gonna talk about them in depth. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this happened and this happened, but just in case you still don't feel comfortable with that, I would advise you to just watch my next review. Watch my old reviews, just not this one. You're not gonna miss out, don't worry. If you're just listening, some of these trigger warnings include SA, R-wording, just violence, everything along those, like basically anything you can think of. Basically anything you can think of is in this fucking book. Why? I don't know. Is it necessary? No. But just so you know, okay? I don't know if there's a trigger warning in the book, actually. I don't think so. I can't find a trigger warning in this book, which I don't know why there isn't. What did I read recently? Oh. Whatever, I don't remember the books I read. I filmed the video, I'm done. I don't remember anything. I'm excited to start ranting. Should we start? Okay. What is Ninth House about? Now, when I picked it up, I didn't know. I didn't know. I've had this book since 2021 and I read the synopsis so many times and I still didn't know what it was about. I didn't even know if there was any magic in this because I thought this was just like a book about Yale. Also, I don't think Stephen King gave praise. He said impossible to put down, which is first of all a lie, and second of all, I don't think he read this. Peace and love. I think he's busy. But basically, it's about a girl called Alex, and Alex goes to Yale, which Leigh Bardugo herself went to Yale, and this bitch, she really made sure that you knew. That you knew she went to Yale. She would not shut up about fucking Yale. I don't care, bitch! Oh my god, she could not shut up. Alex can see ghosts, and they're called Grace in this book, but I will probably just say ghosts, because Grace, that sounds silly. Ghosts, call them by their name. She can see ghosts, and she's been able to see them all her life, which is rare, or basically impossible. And so she gets recruited by one of the secret societies in Yale. There's in total 9 different ones, which is why it's Ninth House, because she's in the 9th one, and it's called Leafy. So she gets recruited by them because the 9th secret society is there, so the other 8 secret societies that do the actual magic, they are being controlled by someone. They're like the secret society police. And so she's recruited because there are like different rituals and stuff by the other societies, and honestly, it was kind of boring. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I don't even... Oh my god, why do I literally always say I don't even want to talk about it. Bitch! Why are you sitting here? Anyway, she gets recruited even though she comes from a... Like, she's a high school dropout. She didn't finish high school. She was a drug addict in the past, and she still gets recruited because she can see ghosts, and that's just really handy because normally they can't do that, and there's a lot of ghosts in Yale, and they have to, like, make sure they don't interfere with the fucking rituals, because when the rituals are, they come out more. Was that a nice summary? Also, literally on the last page, no, that's not true, but like the last chapter, I realized that this bitch's name was Galaxy Stern, and I know Stern is an English word also, but Stern is also a German word, and I'm German, which I also mentioned in every video. Fun fact about me. Not that fun. Stern in German is star, and so her name is literally Galaxy Star. I don't know if that was necessary. Her mom also keeps calling her Little Star, so does she know German? What's your favorite type of gummy bear? Mine are the red ones. Fun fact. I have to say, the beginning of this book, the first 100 pages, took me a really long time to read. So these notes, I don't know what they mean. I wrote, the prologue made me want to stop reading. Sure. The thing is, there's a lot of big words in this book, and if you're not a native speaker, I think this could be a little bit difficult to read. Because even though I read exclusively in English, I'm used to fae porn. You know what I mean? Like, I don't read this type of shit. I don't read big words. I don't need to. And so, if you are not a native speaker and maybe you've just kind of switched over into reading English, I would not suggest reading this. Because it has a lot of big words. At least in my opinion, there was a lot of talk about stuff and like a lot of philosophical talk, and I was like, girl, I'm not here to like put my brain cells on. Like, they're off when I'm reading. They're not on. And then she would talk about history, and I was like, girl, come on. A lot of big words. Like, you could tell that Leigh Bardugo had a lot to say, and she had a lot to tell you. In the first chapter, you already get put into the main story. Alex is at a ritual, and she's overseeing a ritual of one of the secret societies. Now, there's a list in the back about all of the secret societies and their names and everything. Also, literally, my fucking study note is in the back as a bookmark. You know, I was really not going through it. And they were founded and what they do now. The magic was ass in this book, I'm gonna be honest. I just wish there would have been more. It was not enough for me, and also the magic was boring. It was literally the people doing rituals. Like, the first ritual that we have is like a guy being cut open while they're like singing, because they want to know what stock is gonna go up next. That was the reason for the ritual, because for the stock market, and they have rituals so that someone single will go to #1 in the charts and stuff like that. That is the magic that the societies do. And that's so fucking boring, is it not? Like, do something better. Like, do something different, please. And thank you. And there was just also not enough of it. There was not that much magic in this book, and I really like magic, and I like reading fantasy. I read fantasy exclusively, bitch! How many times do I have to fucking say it? I fucking hate anything else. Maybe I don't. Because, obviously, I don't seem to enjoy fantasy. So why do I believe this? I don't know. She's at a ritual, and as I said, they're cutting open someone because they want to know what stock is gonna go up next and whatever. And so she's there to supervise this ritual, which is her job in the 9th Society in Lethe. Monitor this because there's a lot of greys, a lot of ghosts around that are like attracted to this because they get attracted by strong emotions and shit like that. You know, everything that reminds them of the living, which is, I think the whole concept of this book is great, by the way. Did I say that? I really, really enjoy the premise and the idea of it, and the setting and the vibe. I really appreciate all of it. I just think it fell short on a lot of things, which is why I didn't enjoy that much. Like, it took me forever to read, not just because of the big words, but also because nothing was happening for so long. We'll get to it. Let me start talking about it. But basically, she's at the ritual and she keeps thinking back to someone named Darlington. Oh my god. Now you're gonna say, oh, Darlington, yeah, everyone loves him. You know who doesn't love him? That bitch was so annoying. Honestly, he wasn't. I don't know if he was. I don't really know what the fuck is up with him. You know why I didn't like him? Because for some reason he felt so much more mature than Alex. At least in the beginning. Like, at least until we got to the unserious scenes, because they come later. But in the beginning, when it's like Alex thinking back, because he's not present in the book. He's gone. He's missing. We'll get to it. Why do I keep saying that? We'll get to it. Like, I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna explain it further, bitch. Google it. He's missing, and so Alex just keeps thinking back because he was her mentor, basically. He was the last person that got initiated into the society, and now she's a freshman, and I don't know where he's at. Also, I don't fucking know the fucking college terms, bitch. Why the fuck would I know them? Freshman, senior, sophomore, what the fuck even does that mean? Just say first year, second year, just say a fucking semester you're in. Why make it difficult? He's supposed to teach her everything, how to monitor the rituals, and now he's missing and she doesn't really know, because she also doesn't really care. Which, I don't really get that. We'll get to it. I'm stopping myself. She keeps thinking back to him what he told her how to monitor his ritual because things are going crazy. Darlington knew Latin, Greek, and Dutch. He also spoke French, Mandarin, and passable Portuguese. And I don't really know what kind of mix of languages that is. Like, why the fuck does he speak such a weird mix of languages? Because they're useful for the societies or what? But, like, why doesn't he speak, like, Spanish? Like, she doesn't say he speaks Spanish. I'm sure he does, but is that not something you would start with? Why does he speak Dutch? Because the ritual isn't Dutch, because the language is harder to pronounce. Whatever. I didn't really get the Dutch part. Shout out, though. I was just in Amsterdam. Loved it. Basically, this is a murder mystery. Did I say that? No, I didn't. A girl died. And she dies during this ritual, and the connection that Alex makes is that there are the greys around, and usually the ghosts, they are really calm, they just kind of hang out and they're trying to get to the ritual, but they can't because there's like a circle and it's warded and shit. Alex sees that the ghosts go crazy. They're like, blah, 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 we want to get in, blah, 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 and they almost break into the circle even though it's warded. Which is weird, because that's never happened before. And it's because a girl was murdered, and we'll get to all of the connections, but you know what? I do want to talk about it. Be positive. I wasn't really sure what was happening, but basically they act out, the ghosts act out. Alex doesn't know what to do, because why the fuck would she know? Because this has never happened before and she's alone. They're just like letting her do the whole job. I don't really know why there's not someone else that comes in and teaches her now that Darlington is gone. That's the beginning of the book, okay? And the ghosts are going crazy and then they just stop, and it's because a girl died, and she figures this out later. And then she makes that connection, okay? But she doesn't know why, like what the connection of this murder has to do with the ghost going crazy. But we're gonna find out. Every time that someone's like story comes up, like Darlington, every time he comes up, we get a little bit more to know about him, and every time Alex comes up, we get, well, I mean, she's the main character. Every time her backstory comes up, we get like a new piece of information until in the end is completely revealed, basically. Darlington was really excited to get a new person to teach all that he knew and to give his job to, and he was like trying to figure out who it was gonna be, because it can be anyone basically. They just gotta be smart. And he was really excited to choose the person, and then Alex turns up, and he was like so not down for it, because she's a criminal. She's a criminal. She'd been found naked and comatose at a crime scene next to a girl who hadn't been lucky enough to survive the fentanyl, bitch, I don't know, it both taken. The details of it were all more sordid and sad than he could have fathomed. Bitch, so many big words. And he tried to feel sorry for her. The girl he would gift with keys to a secret world was a criminal, a drug user, a dropout who cared about none of the things he did. But he tried. And so he's really like he's like not into Alex at all. And I don't really know, there's no spice in this book, but there are erected cocks, and the word cock does fall multiple times. So what's the point if you're not gonna fuck? So her and Darlington meet, they hang out, he starts teaching her about the societies, because she doesn't know anything. She literally just came out of the hospital after this crime scene where she was found, and they were like, hey, you can go to Yale if you become part of the secret society and you watch over the rituals, because you can see ghosts and that's really handy. And she was like, bitch, I literally have nothing better to do right now. And so she's doing it. Now the tea with this is that I don't really know why Leigh Bardugo wrote about a drug addict that doesn't face any like withdrawal, because she is said to be a heavy drug user. She was always in a drugged out state, because she reveals later that the ghosts or the greys, now I can't decide what to say, ghost or grey, they would appear to her less if she was drugged. And different drugs had different effects, but she figured out which drugs like made them fade away, and because she didn't want to see them, she's always fucking saw them. And so Alex was always in a drugged out state, okay? So she's a little drug addict, and she faces zero withdrawal. It's never even mentioned. She literally gets straight out of the hospital to Yale to work for the secret society, and she never mentions that she has any issues. All of the gore and weird, not weird, but like gruesome scenes that are in this book, why didn't we include that? Like, you know what I mean? Because that's just not realistic. Like, she must have had some kind of withdrawal. Same with fucking Sarah J. Maas writing Nesta. She also didn't have any fucking issues when she didn't drink any alcohol anymore, but that's just me, maybe. That's just not realistic. The Ancient Eight have yielded some of the most powerful men and women in the world. People who literally steer governments, the wealth of nations, who forge the shape of culture. They've run everything from the United Nations to Congress, to the New York Times, to the World Bank. They've fixed nearly every World Series, 6 Super Bowls, the Academy Awards, and at least 1 presidential election. Blah blah blah. Drop some names. Tell me who you think is in this good society. Leigh, please. Who? That means they must have all gone to fucking Yale. She doesn't commit, she doesn't say any names. In the back where there's like an overview of all of the houses, she does mention some people, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know any of them. I only know George W. Bush. Like, that's the only person I know from the people she mentions. But I would have thought she would mention like Beyonce or someone, you know? Lizzo? Was that enough? Darlington had seen the crime scene photos, video taken by officers arriving on scene. 5 men dead, all of them beaten nearly unrecognizable. 2 of them staked through the heart like vampires. Despite the carnage, blood spatter indicated it was all the work of one perpetrator. Arcs of red, every vicious blow struck from left to right. Something was off about the whole thing, but Alex was never a suspect. For one thing, she was right-handed, and for another, she was far too small to have wielded a weapon with so much force. Besides, she had enough fentanyl in her system that she was lucky she hadn't died herself. Her hair had been wet, and she'd been found naked as a newborn. Darlington had dug a little deeper, unable to shake his suspicion, but there had been no blood or remains in the drain. If she'd somehow been involved, she hadn't showered to prove away. Anyway, he's very sussy of her. He makes a lot of connections, he's very smart. In my head, he looked like a grown man. In my head, Darlington is like 40 years old. I'm gonna be fucking honest. I couldn't take that man seriously. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he looked like, I don't know, like a British lad. Alex figures out that on her way home, I think, that a girl was murdered while this ritual was going on, okay? And so she kind of tries, she feels weirded out by this because it happened on a Thursday, and Thursday are the days for the fucking rituals. Dean of the school is also part, or he knows about the secret societies, and he also knows about Leafy, and they report to him. And there's like a bunch of other people. There's also a cop that is part of it. Like he covers everything up when there's something to do with the societies. You know, they have people everywhere. They can figure everything out. I mean, they got fucking a high school dropout. They got into Yale. They can do anything in that fucking society. What happened? I don't really think, I don't know. Girl. I don't know what I wanted to say. I just wanted to give you that information because we're going on with a murder mystery, and so there's a bunch of people involved. There's also one woman involved. I don't really know why she's there because I didn't really care for her. Peace and love. Like, she's a good character, but I don't even know her name. Then we have the dean, we have the cop, we have Alex, and that's, I think, the main 4 people. Maybe there's more. You went to the gym? Are the showers even open this early? For crew and stuff, Alex wasn't actually sure this was true, but she knew Mercy cared less about sports than just about anything. Besides, Alex didn't own running shoes or a sports bra, and Mercy never asked about that. People didn't go looking for lies that didn't have a reason, and why would anyone lie about going for a morning run? She's never heard of a pathological liar. People lie about that shit all the time, girl. Mercy is her roommate because she does live in a dorm with 2 other people, but they don't have any role besides... I don't really know why they're there. I don't know if they play more of a role in the second book. There was no need to include them. I don't know if this book... I wanted to say I don't know if this book passes the Bechdel test, but it does. Because they talk about something different than Darlington, but just like... Basically, you have to understand Alex doesn't have any friends. These 2 roommates are her friends, and they have like one scene together, like one major event in this book together, but like all in all, they're not relevant. They're there so Alex has friends, but she doesn't really. Same. As for Alex's father, Mira was hazy on the details, hazier when pushed. He was a question mark, Alex's phantom half. All she knew was that he loved the ocean, that he was a Gemini, and that he was brown. Mira couldn't tell her if he was Dominican or Guatemalan or Puerto Rican. That was very German. She did know that he was an Aquarius rising with his moon in Scorpio, or something. Alice could never remember. First of all, those are the important things. Second of all, it seems like a psychopath. Third of all, we don't know anything about the dad. She asks later when her mom comes over, she's like, oh, my dad, by the way, who was he? And then her mom's like, I don't know. But he's gotta be something for Alex to be this way, you know what I mean? Maybe he's from the fucking underworld, God knows. Probably he knows because he watches over the underworld. I also think that Alex has a foot fetish. When this attack happened, after this incident where she went to the hospital, basically she was there with a bunch of guys and her girlfriend, Healy, who she mentions multiple times, and then this scene, random, an image of Healy's shoe, that pink jelly sandal slipping from her painted toes, flashed through Alex's mind. Healy's feet had been wide, the toes cramped together, the skin thick and calloused, the only unbeautiful part of her. Okay. Anyway. What the fuck? She has a foot fetish, but her feet were ugly, you know what I mean? Like, that was not it. We get flashbacks again and again of her and Darlington doing shit and leading up to his disappearance, because she never really explains why he disappeared until the scene comes up. Like, you will get more details every time it's mentioned. Darling disappeared, blah, 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 blah. But, I don't know, the pacing in this book was just so weird. I think it could have been cut. Like, 200 pages could have been cut easily. And also, it was always like a big thing happened, whether in the present or the past, and then you would get like pages and pages and pages of nothing. Nothing would happen. And then you would get a big event and a big reveal, and then it would be nothing, nothing, nothing. But the whole time, I felt like it was leading up to something, like some big revelation, but it was just silly in the end. Peace and love. Was silly. And so now that we have 100 pages in, nothing really happened besides the murder that was in the first 10 pages. We get the first big reveal, which is why Alex is so afraid of the Greys. Basically, they are not supposed to touch people. Or be able to touch people. And this is something that Darlington also says. He's like, that basically never happens. Like, that's why hauntings are so rare. Like, they can't physically touch people. And during one of the rituals that she and Darlington visited, there were ghosts that touched her, and he was like, that's not possible, blah, blah, blah. She went to a butterfly zoo? I don't know what it's called. what is it called? Butterfly House? I don't know. There was a scene early in the book where Darlington placed moths on her arms because she's tatted up. She's a tattoo baddie, and it removed all of the tattoos that she had on her arms. And she was really iffy about the moths because she was like, I don't like butterflies, and we find out why now. Basically, in the past, she was all weirded by a ghost. This doesn't get any follow-up. We never really find out what was so different about this ghost, and she also, I understand because it's trauma for her, obviously, but I don't really get why when she has access to all of this knowledge about magic and everything, she can do magic now with the right spells and rituals, why she never tries figuring out why that was possible. Because before that, all of the ghosts never touched her. Like, they would still appear and stuff, but they never touched her, and this changed everything. And she never tries to figure out why it was different. What happened in the bathroom of like the butterfly zoo that they went to, and so that obviously traumatized her. It was also really graphic, and because she was also starting her period, she was, I don't remember how old it said she was, but she started her period that day in the bathroom, she realized, and then there was this ghost, and he tried to SA, or, you know, and I just don't know why it was so, like, the scenes were unnecessarily graphic, and I don't really know if you need to do that. Like, if you call your book adult, you still don't need to do that. I don't really know what the necessity is for that, but whatever. And after that, she spiraled, and basically her life just got so much worse because her friend saw her and the teacher in the bathroom, and her friend told everyone, and she got bullied. She always got bullied because she saw ghosts, you know, because people didn't understand. She saw these things, but they didn't, and she would talk about it, and then people would make fun of her, and she always got bullied. But the bullying intensified after this incident because she was like on the bathroom floor bleeding and with her panties and everything, you know what I mean? And so she got really bullied, and that's when she started getting into drugs, and that's how she figured out that the drugs keep the ghosts at like away a little bit. Now she is still so iffy about the whole murder that happened with the ghosts freaking out, because even though the sassy dean of the, or principal of the school tells her, oh, don't worry, everything's fine, even though this happened during a ritual and the ghosts were weird and it was ritual night, like everything is fine, keep low. I wonder who the villain is. She's like, no, I'm not. Like, it's my duty as a Leafy member to go and figure out what this was. The dean basically says you don't have to investigate because this girl was not from the school. She was town, is what they say. She wasn't going to Yale or anything. There's no connection to the society, so you don't have to investigate. And she's like, no, I feel weird about this. I'm gonna look further into it, which is her good right. Period. So she visits the dead girl's body to see how she died, and she figures out that she didn't feel any pain, which is really weird because she was stabbed multiple times. And then the detective pulls up, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't just go and tamper with a dead body, because she did like a ritual on her. And she's like, well, I think that this whole situation is sussy. And then the detective is like, well, the dean told you it was fine, so it's fine. He also reveals that the dude that was like at the ritual at one where the ghosts were going crazy, that he's also kind of involved. Like, there's a bunch of people involved, but I don't really know anything about them because there was never really any time spent with them. I feel like the characters weren't fleshed out enough. Besides Alex, obviously we were with her all the time, but all of the murder suspects and everything, she didn't go in depth enough. I think that she picked up a lot of ideas, and she had a lot of ideas for this book, and that also she just had so much to say, and you can really tell that she did so much research also, and she was really passionate about this because there's so many unnecessary details about Yale that no one cares about. But she really just wanted to tell the story so bad, and I feel like while she was writing, like, so many more things came to mind where she was like, oh, I have to include this, oh, this is also a cool fact, a fun fact, a cool detail. And so a lot of things just came up short because she couldn't explore them more, because she had to, I don't know, info dump about the building that is, I don't know, on the sidewalk. I wasn't really invested in it because there was, I think, a lot of wasted potential. Again, I love the idea of it, and I also think that Leigh Bardugo is a really good writer. Her writing, you can't compare it to the fucking TikTok authors that, you know, you guys know. I also have a bias towards Leigh Bardugo. I haven't said that yet. I love Six of Crows. That's my favorite book. of all time. And so I think she's an amazing writer. I think her writing style is really nice and she really knows what she's doing, and I love her ideas. But again, it was just so boring because the pacing was so off, and she would info dump and she would not explore the interesting things. She just wouldn't explore more, or she would put in a lot of things, a lot of random interesting things, and then never talk about them again. So I was like, girl, this is not it. Please. Please, I just want to enjoy a book for once. So now we get the second foot scene, which is like why I pointed out. Like, why the fuck why are we talking about feet? And it's so random. Alex remembered Darlington's delicate feet, his scream as he'd vanished. Oh my god. Also, Darlington is a cat guy, which makes him a lot more likable, I think. I love cats. Guys, I'm too cold. I'm sorry. I'm freezing. Actually, we can keep the vibe. I'm gonna put on a blanket. That's nice. I don't really know what's going on in this scene, but basically she's leaving a store because she went to a random store. And then she gets attacked by something, which she thinks is a Grey, a normal ghost. And he actually attacks her, like, and this is in public, okay? So people are like, what the fuck is going on? Because they can't see the ghost. They just see her going crazy and like smashing things, but she's fighting for her life. And then she goes outside on the street, and all of a sudden there's another ghost, because the ghosts at Yale, there's a lot of them, but a lot of them always are in the same spot and appear at the same time or whatever. So they have like actual names, and people in Leafy know their history because they're always there. And she gets attacked, and then this random ghost, who was probably my favorite character, at least when he didn't speak, which is usually the case for men, then I like them more, he appears and he saves her. He fights this other ghost for her. And so it turns out that this was not even a fucking ghost, it was a Gluma or whatever. It made me think of Mario Kart Galaxy. Is that not what it's called? I don't know, I never checked. I never fact-checked. Like the little star? No, it's not. What the fuck is it called? Why the fuck did I think that? Luma! Ach so. Ja, Digga. Das hab ich gemeint. Das hab ich gemeint. But it made me think of that. I thought she was attacked by a little star. Jeffree Star. She finds out from... There's like a woman that I said I don't remember her name. She lives at the... There are different houses that Leafy has over at campus. But she lives at one of them and she works for them. And she kind of fixes up Alex whenever she gets hurt and stuff like that. I don't really know what her point is. I didn't really care for her, sorry. That's my bad. I'm sorry. We get back to a flashback of her and Darlington at a party. And this was probably my favorite scene because it was so random. They go to a party of one of the societies to monitor them, because they are doing magic while this party is happening, because that's how they draw their magic. Again, I love the magic system. I love that there's different things, but I feel like there was not enough focus on it. Lee, please, hear me out. Make me your editor. Imagine. Oh my god, I would literally cry. I would decline the job because I'm like, I'm not good. I'm not up for it. By the way, there were so many good quotes in this book, okay? You can like pull so many nice things from it, but that's due to Lee's writing. She writes so... My camera is like crooked. Am I crooked, guys? I'm sorry. I can't fix it now. I've been filming for 40 minutes. In the mirror, he saw himself, a knight with bowed head, defeating his offering his service, a sword in his hand, a sword in his back. Felt no pain, only the ache in his heart. Choose me. There were tears on his cheeks, even as he felt the shame of it. She was no one, a girl who had lucked into a gift, who had done nothing to earn it. She was his queen, because he's having delusions at this party, like thinking Alex is some kind of queen, which maybe is foreshadowing, which I think is foreshadowing, because like, oh my god, you're Queen Mob, and then, listen, I get so triggered. I'm so over Faye. Whenever I read Queen Mob, I know this is like funded in actual like lore and everything, but I'm so over it, bitch. How many times have I read the word mob and the name mob and Maeve and shit? Like, I'm over it. Oh my god, I just realized I had makeup all down my eyes. Well, too bad, guys. Don't look at it. Look at my boobs. Her and Darlington are at this party in the past. And he breathed in some kind of fog, and that fog was drugged. Unfortunate. And he has a vision of him and Alex fucking. Darlington, she snarled, get your shit together. And then he saw himself. He hiked up her skirt. His hands were braced on her white thighs. He saw the masked faces around them, sensed their eagerness as they leaned forward, eyes glittering. Alex was looking down at him, gripping his shoulders, trying to shove him away. The cabin was gone. They were in the banquet room. He fell backward, letting her skirt drop, his erection throbbing valiantly in his jeans. So, and if you think, oh, okay, it's not where it ends. No, he couldn't. In his head, he was kneeling again, face pressed to her thighs, desperate to get closer. The thought of it made him instantly hard again. He's just really horny for her. I don't really get it. I don't really get it. Sure, whatever. She also mentions that they were sleeping in the same bed that night because he was fucked up and she was staying with him to make sure he was alright. And his erection was like there in the morning, like pressing against her back. She really wanted to suck it. I don't really know, guys. I mean, sure. That was like so weird. Like, that scene was so weird. I was so confused by what was happening. Back to the present. Alex decides that she needs to figure out who killed the girl, what happened. And so she needs to speak to the dead. The bridegroom that protected her from the Gluma attack, he kept following her because now they had like a bond, because you're not supposed to look them in the eye and say their name because that's going to form a bond with the ghost and then they're not going to leave you alone. And so she basically dies. She drowns herself so she's able to speak to him, because she has to die and go to hell or wherever the fuck she is to speak to him because he's dead. Otherwise it's not possible. And so she does that. She speaks to him and he's like, I'm gonna help you if you find out who killed my wife. And then she's like, you killed her, bitch. Like, that's why you are so famous, because you killed your wife. And he says, no, I fucking didn't, bitch. I didn't kill her. And they make a deal that he's gonna look for Tara, which is the girl who died, who was murdered. Sorry. And she's going to figure out what really happened between him and his wife, because he said, I didn't kill her, I don't know who did, I don't remember this night, I don't know what happened, I've been looking for her and I can't find her, because he can pass through the veil, is what it's called, to either side, the living or the dead, and he can't find her soul anywhere, which is really weird of his wife. And so they make a deal. She's like, I'm gonna figure out what happened and you're gonna find Tara, the girl, soul, who died. Yeah, that's right. I feel like I really want to make like an ASMR book review at one point because I have a microphone. I feel like that would be funny. I don't know if I could do it though. I wonder how long it would take me until I started screaming. So now pages 250 onward is weird. She has this one plot with her roommate friends where she comes home because she's never home. She also never goes to any classes. She mentions like classes twice, I think. One time she does go to them, but other than that she just doesn't have any classes. Which is weird because I feel like in Yale you would have to attend your classes. I feel like they would make it obligatory, but okay. I mean, who cares about Yale in this book? But basically there is a video going around of her roommate sucking a frat boy's cock. She was drugged. There's a drug that one of the societies use where if you take it you become like a slave. Like anything that the person tells you to do, you happily do. Like you're happy to oblige, and it turns your tongue purple. And so, what's her name? Alex. I want to call her Lee. Self-insert Lee Bardugo. Are you part of a secret society, girl? Alex sees the purple tongue and she's like, oh, I know what happened. Like, I know why you sucked his dick, because you fucking took that drug. But she can't tell her friends because they don't know about the secret societies. And so she's like, I'm gonna fix this. Don't worry about it. So this is like her one plot, her one bonding moment that she has. And I was so taken aback because it's like a video and she's watching the video and then the guy goes, Jesus, look at all that bush. Because she has a hairy vajayjay. Who cares? I just think it's so weird because he films her sucking his cock and I don't really know what else they do, but and then it's like, oh, he sent it around and it's humiliating for the girl, but like, dude, like, why would I want, he sends it to his friends, why would I want to see a sex tape of my friends? Like, why would I send that to anyone? Why would I want anyone to see my cock? And then they jump back. This scene is happening, and they jump back to the past after the Darlington cock drama. This is like the next morning. She'd woken to the dawn light trickling through the room, and Darlington curled behind her, asleep. He was hard again. The ridge of him The ridge of him tucked against the curves of her ass. One of his hands was cupped over her breast, his thumb moving back and forth over her nipple with the lazy rhythmic sway of a cat's tail. Alex felt her whole body flush. Darlington, she snapped. He murmured against the back of her neck. Wake up and fuck me, or cut that out. But they didn't fuck. So I don't really know, like, do you want to fuck him or not? Like, I think they do. I think they are gonna end up together if, like, none of them dies, which could also happen. Yeah, anyway, that's happening in the past. Like, his cock is hard again. His cock was hard all night. We go back to the present. You know, it switches back and forth, but not always. Like, it's not always one chapter in the past, one in the present. I don't really know what's going on. Now she's pursuing all of these frat boys that drugged her friend. It turns out they got the drugs from Tara, and they don't know, they're not in societies like these frat boys, they don't know what this drug is, that it's actually like a drug used specifically by one society. They don't know about that, and Tara didn't really know about that either. She just sold it to them because she thought it was useless because it only has an effect on other people when you give it to them, that they listen to you. So when she took it, and nothing happened, she was like, this is a shit drug, I'm just gonna sell it. And the frat boys figured out what it did. And so this is all Alex figures out. And then she gets a drug from someone else that makes people listen to you. If you take the drug, it makes them listen without them taking a drug. Or it makes you really convincing, I think. And so she goes over, she deletes the video. She makes a bunch of other guys delete the video. And then she films the frat boy that got his cock sucked and makes him eat fecal matter. Ew. And this was so weird because I don't really know why the scene exists. She really wanted to get him, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm gonna make you have a gross video that goes viral so no one respects you anymore for everything that you did to the girls. But this was such a nasty, unnecessary scene, you know what I mean? Because she never really cares for her friends anyway that she has, and now all of a sudden she does. I don't really know. It wasn't fleshed out enough. Okay, so it was just weird and disgusting. My notes are just slay queen, pop off queen. Girl, what's happening? How the fuck am I supposed to know now what it meant with slay queen? She has a flashback to when Darlington disappeared, because up until page 300 we only got the information that he disappeared and little bits and pieces about the night, but never really what happened, like the events leading up to it. And basically what happened was she and Darlington went to somewhere for whatever reason. Peace and love. There was so much information in this book. I just took it and I went with it. I didn't really care why they were there. It wasn't really important. They did a ritual, I think. And then after the ritual is over, her and Darlington have a conversation, and she confesses that Alice confesses that she was the one that killed the people at the crime scene that she was found at. And then Darlington is like, you know, I have to tell the rest of Leafy that you are a murderer, and she's like, yeah, I guess. Fuck. And he's like, well, like, it's your problem, you know? You did this to yourself. But he can't tell anyone because he disappears. He could tell that something was going on, and he didn't tell Alex until it was too late. Basically, there was a portal opening up. It was a portal, he looks into it, and he gets consumed by it, and Alex doesn't. I think it just closes up. But before he falls in, he was trying to say, it's not a portal, it's a ma, and then he disappeared. Okay? Keep that in mind. Like, it wasn't a portal, he was trying to say what it was, but he couldn't because he was just sucked in. And then now he's gone. Basically, now they're telling everyone he's in Spain. He is in Spain, but without the S, I think. But Alex doesn't do anything. He gets consumed and she's just frozen in place. And she reflects this later, like, one time, and she's like, did I do that because I was scared he was gonna tell everyone I was a murderer and I was just happy he's gone? Or why the fuck did I do that? Was I scared? I can't answer that. If you can't answer that, how am I supposed to say that? But now that we find out that she actually killed those people, the question arises, well, what really happened that day? And so we get the reveal at page 300. Took a long time. I forgot to mention a bunch of things. I just realized, whatever. I'll talk about them now. Basically, she went back to the girl that was murdered at her apartment because her ghost friend said, if I'm to find her soul, I need something that belonged to her. So she goes to an apartment, she gets her retainer, and she gives it to the ghost. And the ghost is like, thanks, I'll look for her. Someone appears, and she doesn't know who this dude is that appears, but he starts beating her up. And the dude is the girl's boyfriend. That girl's boyfriend, who is now in jail because he is the suspected murderer of the girl. And because it all lines up. And I thought this was really weird because I thought that Alex saw his face because, remember in the beginning, she did like a ritual on the dead girl's body. She did a ritual on her to see what she saw in those moments that she died, and she saw her boyfriend's face. And then she doesn't recognize him when he appears in the apartment, which I thought was weird, but whatever. That's like a small detail. He does portal magic, basically, jumping into an apartment because he is supposed to be in jail, or he is in jail, but he somehow comes into an apartment, starts beating her up, and Alex channels the ghost of the bridegroom, because he is in the room with her. Is the bridegroom in the room with us right now? Yes, he is. And she channels his power and basically consumes him and is able to take his strength and beat up the perpetrator. And then the cop turns up that's like, knows everything about the societies. He turns up and he's like, oh, that was the boyfriend, he's supposed to be in jail, blah, blah, blah. But this is a scene where we see that she's able to consume dead bodies, or not dead bodies, souls, ghosts, and take their strength, okay? And so we get the flashback of that scene, the crime scene, where everything turned to shit and she then later ended up in Yale. And what happened that night? Basically, it was like a bunch of side characters, okay? I mean, they're all dead at this point, so whatever. There was a bunch of side characters, and there was a sassy side character, and another sassy side, whatever, you know? We don't care. They drugged her friend, her girlfriend at the time, Healy, and I don't really know where she was, but she came back to the apartment called Ground Zero. She came back, and they were partying, and she hadn't agreed that Healy would go, that they would party anyway. She was sussy of these people, and so she's just mad, and she just goes to bed or whatever. I don't really know. I'm not gonna say how it was exactly, because I don't remember, and I don't care. Healy comes, and she lays down next to her, and I think she like vomited on herself or something. Like, you can tell she's going through it, and then she's like, let's just go to bed, and they fall asleep. So she wakes up the next morning, Alex wakes up the next morning, and is like, okay, Healy, I see you're like all disgusting, let's get you cleaned up. And she goes to remove her shirt because it's dirty, and she can't touch her because Healy died. Healy died overnight next to her in the bed. And that's the ghost. Her ghost is left in the apartment. She can see it, obviously, because she can see ghosts. And so this completely leads to a breakdown. She's like, these other men, these 5 men that are in the apartment, they are responsible for her being dead. And so she consumes Healy's ghost. Healy was left-handed because, remember, in the beginning it was like, oh, it couldn't have been her because she's right-handed and the attacker was left-handed. Well, Healy was left-handed. And she consumes Healy's strength and all her anger that she had because she died because of these men, and she beats them all up and to death. So it was Alex, but it was Healy inside of Alex. So she knew she was able to do this. And then she goes to a random river, washes off, gets rid of the baseball bat that she beat them up with, goes back to the apartment naked, that's why she was wet, and lays back down in the bed, and then that's how they are found by the police. And she didn't have any drugs in her system when she came home, or like not the drug that was found in her blood, but because Healy was inside of her, there's like remnants left over. I don't have to use the big words. It's like leftover drugs from Healy because she had those drugs in her system, and then the ghost went inside of Alex, and then the ghost like gave her the drugs. However that works. And that's why she had the perfect alibi and why she was never suspected, even though she did kill them in the end. So that's the full circle, okay? That was like a lot. But she knew she could do that, and she's been doing it with the bridegroom to consume his power, which is really handy. I would consume like a pro wrestler or something. You know, that would be slay. So I was really confused. Back to the boyfriend storyline from the dead girl who appears in the apartment. I was really confused that she didn't recognize him, but the cop recognizes him, and so they visit him in jail to ask him like what the fuck was going on. And it was like they did like a whole bunch of magic tricks to get into jail because of cameras and supervision. I don't really know. They talk to him, and he reveals that Yes, they were drug dealing. Yes, they did this one drug that makes you obedient, but they thought it didn't do anything. And that his girlfriend who died, her name is Tara, I said that before, that she was dealing really good drugs and drugs that like made you able to use portal magic, and he had one of those drugs on him, and so he was able to go back to the apartment. We're getting more and more information. It turns out that there was one guy that works for, that Alex knows, and we've mentioned him a bunch of times. Well, I haven't, but the book has mentioned him a bunch of times. His name is Colin. He works for one of the professors, and he's also in on this whole thing, and he was one of the main perpetrators, like telling her, the dead girl, to make more drugs, blah 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 blah. Blah blah. Okay? Side characters, I don't care about them, there are too many, and they're all not fleshed out enough. Page 373, I'm giving you the exacts. They try to summon Darlington, because he's somewhere. The bridegroom couldn't find his soul, which means that he's not dead, because then he would be able to find his soul. It means he must be in some other realm, and that's also what they believe. So they decided to wait until the full moon and do a new ritual. Or a ritual, not a new ritual. The reason they didn't do it before is because the dean was putting it off. Okay? Everything that's sussy is because of the dean. It was very obvious because we have a bunch of murder suspects, and the only one that doesn't have a solid alibi for killing the girl is the dean, because it's like, oh, he was at a party, but he got a little too drunk, and then he was put off in a different room and fell asleep. And Alex doesn't think on this further, ever, but then it was like, obviously it could have been him easily. He could have just slipped out of the room, because everyone thought he was drunk asleep. And she never thinks that this is a possibility. She just doesn't think he's a suspect at all. But it was him. Spoiler. We'll get to it in a second. I'm talking so much. So the ritual doesn't work to bring back Darlington. And they're like, he's gone, he's dead, blah blah blah. Because they figure out that what consumed him was not a portal, but a hell beast. Unfortunate. It was a hell beast, said Michelle. It was talking with his voice. That means it consumed him. Someone let it into our world. Left it like a cave for him to walk into. He's gone, Alex. He's not on the other side. He's not beyond the veil. He was devoured, soul and all. It was not a portal. That was what Darlington had said that night in Rosenfeld basement. And now she knew what he had meant to say. What he had tried to say before that thing had taken him. It's not a portal. It's a mouth. So he's dead. Or is he? He's not. Don't worry. And you know what? The reason I want to read the second book, he's not dead, obviously. He's like the best character in a lot of people's opinions. I didn't really care for him that much because he wasn't even there, you know. And I don't know, he didn't do anything great. I don't really know. I don't really know him. I don't really care. But basically what I've seen about the second book is that, spoiler, he's still around, which I think, you know, anyone could have guessed. The ending of this book is who's ready to go to hell, because Alex somehow figures out that he must still be alive. I didn't really get how she figured that out, but whatever. They're like, oh, he's still alive. Let's go to hell and get him back. And everyone's like, yeah. So the second book is called Hellman, because they're going to hell. I've seen that people said that he has a glowing dick in the second book, and I really want to read that. I think that would be a funny review, because I've seen that the reviews for the second book are not that good. Or as bad as they can be. I think it still has a 4-star or above average on Goodreads, but you would have thought that the reviews would be better because it was really anticipated. So I'm really excited to read it. I think it would be really funny, but I always feel bad if I talk about sequels because that includes less people. Less people can watch it because if they haven't read the first book, well, it's your bad, you know what I mean? But if you want to see that, you can tell me. I think I'm going to read it regardless. I want to see the glowing dick. So that's what's up with Darlington. He has a glowing dick in the second book and I want to see it. So we're at the end of the book now. Okay, the ritual didn't work. That's kind of what we had been leading up to. If you thought that he was coming back with that ritual, I don't really know why you thought that, because obviously not, bitch. You've never read the book before? That's not how books work. The dude that filmed her friend sucking his dick, he attacked her and then they killed him. But he was also under a drug, like some drug influence. I think under a coin of compulsion, which, whatever, I don't know why that exists. There's a lot of things, as I said, that exist in this book. And this book is only 400 pages long, 450. It's a lot for such a short book, but it's a lot for this short book, and so a lot of things aren't explored on further, and that's why it's like so difficult. Like if I mentioned every single thing that happened, it's very convoluted, and it's still, the pacing is still so ass, it's still so slow. I don't really get how that works. Like how can you put so much in your book and it still be so slow? I don't really know. Lee, speak up. Like, you know? At this point, Alex figures out that all of the deaths, oh, well, wait. There was one death of this one girl on campus, and it has this, like, something in common with all of the deaths that have happened before, because for there to be a magic source, which is called a nexus, for the different societies, a girl had to die. This is what she figures out now. She didn't know this before, because the societies build tombs, and these tombs are like where they do their rituals, I think. I don't really know. I don't know, that's like where they store their magic or whatever, and all of these tombs have been built on nexuses, or what is the multiple of, whatever, plural of nexus, whatever. Girl, slow down. You can say about Trisha Paytas what you want, but the pace she talks at, I love it, because I need that. I hate when people talk slowly. I love when people talk fast, because I talk fast, and my brain is just like, blah, blah, blah. My mouth can't keep up. She figures out that with Tara's death, this has something to do with all of the deaths, because so many girls have died in the past when societies had been funded, and their nexuses, and the tombs had been built on nexuses, okay? So she's like, okay, someone's trying to make a new tomb, a new nexus? What the fuck is going on here? Like, what are we doing? She also realizes that Darlington had known about this, because she finds his notes, that he figured this out. And, yeah, slay. She realizes that the villain is the dean, okay? Because he was going through a divorce, he was broke, and he needed a lot of money, and the only way he could get a lot of money was through making a new nexus and a new tomb for a society that was like non-existent anymore. They don't have a tomb anymore or something. Their name was Elmo or something. I don't care. And so he promised them through a ritual that he would make them a new tomb. And so they gave him a bunch of money because through his divorce he didn't have any money left. And so that's why he did it. And that's now coming full circle. He killed the girl, but it didn't really work. Fail. Flop. In his flop era. So Alex goes to confront him because she feels so unjust that the dean... So, like, I don't know. What the fuck is the dean? Is he the principal? Is he, like, the higher up on the school? Or is the principal something else? I don't really know. She can't believe that this whole thing had been rigged from the start. That he had been working against her the whole time. You know, trying to delay Darlington's ritual to bring him back. Also telling her to not worry about the murder, which she did in the beginning. She's like, fuck you. And so she goes to this party that's happening to confront him, and while she walks into this party, she has this badass moment where she licks her arms. And this brings her tattoos back, because if you remember in the beginning, there were these moths that Darlington had placed on her arms that made her tattoos disappear, and he told her if you apply saliva to it, they will reappear. So that makes me wonder, like, in all of this, like, does it have to be her own saliva, or can it be anyone's saliva? Because I'm sure, like, someone has spit on her arms, you know what I mean? So they should have reappeared at some point, whatever. Maybe I'm looking too far into it. And so she goes to confront the dean, and she's like, I know everything you did, I'm gonna kill you, you can't be doing this. And he's like, yeah, well, bitch, I wanted to kill you anyway. I sent the Gluma after you. I tried to have you consumed by the Hell Beast, not Darlington. Well, you and Darlington, both of them, but it didn't work. And then I sent the Gloomer after you, but you survived. And then I sent the Fred Koch video guy after you, but you killed him. And, like, I don't know what else to do, bitch. Like, why aren't you dead? He's been trying really hard. Just like her moment in the end, you know? She's like walking in the party, licking her arms. Her tattoos reappearing. She also records this whole conversation that she has with the dean to show to all of the Leafy officials. I don't know who else there is, but to show them, to prove to them that she's not lying about this and that he literally was behind all of it. And then, for some reason, guys, the ending was so weird. We have this random professor, her name is Balbaum. I think she's French. And she appears in the scene because it's her part. No, it's not her party. Whatever, it's someone's party and she's there. And she had one scene before. We know her. She had a scene in the beginning where, because she's one of Alex's professors, where she offered her, if she gets her grades up, she will be able to work for her over the summer. That was her offer. And that is the only scene that we see this character in. Really randomly. And then it gets brought up like twice again that she's been offered a job, but never again. And now the character comes back. So I was like, honestly, I didn't think that she had like any big part in this, but I was like, she's gotta have some idea of what's going on. But no one could have predicted what the fuck is happening in like the end. Basically, this fucking teacher is like a monster. She is the fiance that the bridegroom had been looking for, because when she died, I don't really know actually. There was a ritual that went wrong, and the fiance of the bridegroom, they had nothing to do with the ritual. She was able to see Grace, just like Alex, and she's like, oh, you're also a wheel walker, which is the term for them, whatever, I don't really know. You're also a wheel walker, you can also see ghosts. We're the same, but we can't just consume them and take their strengths. We can also take living people's souls. And Alex is like, what the fuck are you saying? And I was like, what the fuck is she saying? What this means is that some ritual went wrong. And then there was a ghost trying to get into the fiance's body. But she was really scared. So she pushed that ghost into her fiance, into the bridegroom. And that ghost possessed him to a point where the ghost took the gun, like in the body, shot the fiance and shot the bridegroom. So he did kill his fiance, but he wasn't aware. Like, he didn't do it on purpose. He loved her. She was so scared, the fiance, her name is Daisy. She was so scared, she possessed the maid's body. Okay? So she was able to eat the maid's soul and then live in her body, but keep her conscience. Okay? I don't know. She consumed her... I don't fucking know, girl. I don't know. She consumed her, and then she lived in her body. And so there were a lot of killings throughout the years, because she had to consume a lot of bodies to stay alive, until she met the first wheel walker or other wheel walker. Then when she consumed that soul, that sustained her for like 50 years, and she could be alive for 50 years. And then she had to find a new one, and she kept finding more wheel walkers because they all came to Yale for some reason. And then she kept consuming them, and that's why all of the girls died. And all of those girls that died, all of the wheel walkers, they turned into nexuses where the tombs were built for the secret societies. So the fiance of the bridegroom is the reason all of the societies exist. I could be wrong. I don't really know, guys. I was so confused by this end. I just wanted it to be over, because I was like, why the fuck is this a random ass side character coming and explaining this? And then her and Alex have like a fight. Also, they were talking about the Undertaker. Bellbam gave a single nod. It was almost a bow. And left their bodies. Husks for the Undertaker. I don't really know what the rest has to do with this, if I'm being honest. So that's like the whole story, basically. And then the professor's like, well, that's how I lived, and now I'm gonna consume your body, Alex, because you're a wheel walker. Fuck you. And then they have like a fight, and I just imagined that they were standing opposite each other, just like hands outstretched, like from the professor, and Alex being like this. And that's how I imagined it, and like quiet, you know what I mean? Like a quiet room, like super cringe. I would be embarrassed. And Alex calls all the spirits of Yale to her, and she's like, help me, give me your strength. And then the professor's like, no. And then she, one by one, says the names of the girls that she consumed, because she knows their names. Because it was documented in Lethe, whatever. She knows the names. And they all come out of the body of the professor and live happily ever after. And the bridegroom can't, like, understand that his fiance is capable, or was capable of doing this, and he warns her, because she's only ashes in the end. And he's like, oh my god, my fiance. And Alex is like, bitch, you have terrible taste in women. And she leaves. I was like, okay, girl, this is cringe. This is like a fucking Netflix line. And then she leaves, and all is well, because also the dean is dead, by the way. They killed him in the process. I don't really... Oh, the professor ate his soul. Yeah. But he's dead. So now all the villains are dead, because the professor is dead, the dean is dead, and we don't have any villains anymore, basically. So the plot for the second book is, let's go get Darlington from hell, because they don't have any villains, you know? we need a new plot because all the plot has been resolved basically. And as I said, she figures out somehow, I couldn't really follow her thought process, that Daniel is Daniel. I just called him by his first name. His name is Daniel Arlington, but they call him Darlington for short. Which just makes him sound like an old man. And they're like, oh, he's a gentleman. He's the gentleman of Lethe. And so I just... Man, how long have I been fucking filming? That just makes me think of, no, man, if you're a gentleman, your name is Darlington, you know, I'm sorry. Who's ready to go to hell is the last sentence of the book. So that's the plot of the second book. As I said, he has a glowing dick and I really need to pee. That's all that this book was, guys. I don't really know. I've said it several times. It was a lot. I think that Leigh Bardugo has so many great ideas and her writing is also so good. Just her writing style, her prose. And you have to appreciate it. And she really, you could tell she was so passionate about this book, putting so much detail in it. She must have done so much fucking research. And it's genuinely something I think that she's interested in, the history of Yale and everything, and the secret societies and everything that's going on with that. But at the end of the day, because she put so many details in there that genuinely no one but her care about, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about how Yale was founded. So many other things fell flat, and then I think the violent scenes were unnecessarily gruesome, and also I didn't really like any of the characters, I'm being honest. I didn't like Darlington, I just didn't. I don't really know, like, he never did anything to get on my bad side, but I just didn't like him. And then Alex I also didn't like Alex. I mean, I understand why she is the way she is, but that doesn't mean I have to like her. And all of the side characters were ass also. I liked the bridegroom, the ghost, when he didn't talk. Whenever he opened his mouth, I didn't like him. And that's all, guys. That's literally all there is. Gansey, that's all there is. Darlington made me think of Gansey several times. I love him, but I don't like Darlington. So I gave the book 3 stars, more of a 2.5. I was never at the point where I was super invested and I needed to know what happened next. That never happened. Put this book down easily and never had like woken up in my sleep and been like, oh my god, I need to know how Ninth House ends. You know what I mean? It was just not, it didn't grab me, but I have to appreciate it for what it is. And again, I want to read the second book, and I don't know how long it has been since I've read a sequel. I like genuinely wanted to read a sequel. Because I've read this, like, the second fucking Cruel Prince book, and Infernal Devices. But I did that because I don't really know why I did that. I didn't really want to do it. Peer pressure, I guess. So I really do want to read the second book. I want to see the glow stick dick. And if you also want to see it, tell me and I'll read it. But it was better than the other books that I read. There were not as many, again, because Leigh Bardugo knows how to write. There weren't really stupid lines beside the foot fetish. I don't really know that. And the cocks, there were a lot of cocks. I mean, I'm happy to be back. I don't know what I'm going to read next. It's either going to be Hellbent or something else, because like, I feel kind of bad that I didn't make a video in so long that I kind of want to read something that's an easy read. I'm also thinking about the Holly Black book from the Cruel Prince universe, because I'd never liked the Cruel Prince, but I can give it another try. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but I think it would be fun to rant. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, even though it wasn't like as ranty as I don't actually know. I don't actually know. You can tell me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this. I promise to be back with more videos soon after I pee. Maybe after I pee, I go to the gym. I have to eat, you know. I have to edit. I'm busy. I love you so much. Thank you for watching, and maybe I'll see you in my next one. Stay happy, stay healthy. Bye bye.